Hey everyone, welcome to Game 7 of the match between Steinitz and Lasker. Game 6 was a draw, so the match is still tied at 2 wins apiece. So it's 3-3 at this point. First question, and this game is extremely complex. Just a kind of a crazy game. But first question for you is, what would you capture with on d5? Would you capture with the pawn, or would you capture with the queen? Yeah, we have a really difficult decision here. So first, if queen takes d5, we have to worry about the moves rook to e5. And now if the queen, and this is what happened, but after queen d2, now after bishop takes pawn, we have f4. So this is a key thing to calculate. If pawn takes, if the bishop goes back, white just has a significant advantage. The pawns are just coming up the board. So what should black do on pawn takes? This is very important, and if you want to get to like 2,000, 2,200 or above, this needs to be a quick decision. Basically, you should sacrifice the exchange. If queen takes, bishop g5. If pawn takes, still bishop g5. And black has pretty decent compensation for the exchange. We have a pawn. We have pretty good pieces. The e-pawn's a bit weak. And this is happening. So we have to decide which of these two to choose. It's tough to say because I think Lasker may have missed something. He took with the queen. Rook e5 was played. Then queen to d2 was played. Black took on g5. White played f4. And now, your turn, black. Pause the video, figure out what you would do. Steinitz seems like he saw one move further than Lasker this time. And he played rook takes bishop. And the point was after pawn takes bishop, queen to e7. And we're skewering the two rooks. So a very complicated sequence that just took place there that required a lot of calculating, a lot of evaluating, and stuff like that. So white just gave up the bishop and played bishop to c4. And white is currently down 2 whole pawns, so should have a very good position. White, however, is attacking on f7. Black played the move knight h8, which definitely a little bit passive, but still we're up 2 pawns. He's hoping to just at some point get the move d5 in, then bring the knight back to g6. White attacked with h4. c6, and now the thing is, black is about to play d5, which, followed up by knight g6, could make white's play very hard to figure out, basically. It's hard to figure out how white can proceed there. So Lasker, realizing that black was close to consolidating, what would you play here as a practical attempt? I'm not sure it's the best move, but it's certainly interesting, and it caused problems for black. So what Lasker did, he just played g6. And the idea is if hg6, h5, pawn takes, rook takes, white has a scary looking attack. Objectively, it may not be enough. Houdini finds some defenses, but admittedly this looks scary. The rook's coming, the queen's coming. The problem is if queen h2, rook e1 is always a defense, but I can see how black might be scared to allow this. In the game after g6, black simply went d5 instead. And by the way, pawn h takes was the best move, objectively. And now white took and played bishop d3, king g8, h5. So now white has another plan to get some kind of play with h5, h6, h7, etc. Rook e8 was played, h6, g6, h7. King g7, and now white played a safety move, king to b1. And the question to black is, what are you going to do? You're up 2 pawns, however, this knight sucks, and this pawn is pretty strong on h7. So black continued with queen e5, and it's not easy here. Houdini likes black's position, but trust me, it's not easy to play when you have a piece like this and you're facing a pawn like this. c5 was a logical way to try to gain some play. queen f2, possibly shifting the queen to h4. c4 was played, and now queen h4, threatening checkmate. So black really doesn't have much choice here. He played the move f6. And now white continues to have issues because the bishop is attacked. So what move should he play? An obvious looking move would be simply bishop takes pawn. However, after knight takes, rook g1, king f7, queen g4, black can play queen g5. And it's not so easy for white to break through. White played a kind of stranger looking move, at least in my opinion. He played the move bishop f5, which to me looks very odd, but his idea, I believe, is if takes, rook check. And now if knight g6, we can probably think about taking and going h6. I'm sorry, h8 queen. And that might be losing, actually. Maybe after rook e1, black has too many pawns, I think. So after knight g6, oh, now we can play queen h5, because there's no way for the queen to defend this knight. So that's a problem for black. So bishop f5 is a tough move to play, too. Black played king f7, because he was kind of scared of this line. Although, admittedly, the main line would go something like this, probably. And white gets some real counterplay. The king's running around. The knight's still bad. We're going to take on d5, maybe. Complicated stuff, like a really complex game, where the decisions you had to make were very irrational and tough to make. After king f7, this move happened. And so we got the same position that we sort of just talked about. Although at this point, white did not take on f5. White played rook to g8. And again, a slightly annoying move, threatening rook takes rook. And after king d6, rook takes f5. And again, just objectively, Houdini likes black. I'm going to see if my Houdini works right now. It does. As you see, but right now it's like actually pretty close. So already black has messed up a little bit. But like in this position, okay. I mean, I guess there were definitely moments where the Houdini really likes black. But now the tide is starting to turn. White has a strong initiative. And after queen e6, takes, and rook f6. King c5, queen h6. And just the pressure keeps coming. Rook f8 is a threat. There's all kinds of annoying ideas, and the king is running around on c5. Rook e7 was played. White's best move is queen to d2 here, with the idea of queen b4. Instead, he played queen h2, which is also pretty strong. And after queen to d7, can you find what white should do here? Pause your video and try to figure it out. And if you said queen g1 check on d4, queen g5, you would be correct. Because the problem is after queen d5, rook f5 simply wins the game. And after this, in queen f6, black resigned. So this was a really interesting game for a few reasons. Number one, there was that tough decision at the very beginning where you could consider either taking with the pawn and thinking about this exchange sacrifice, or taking with the queen and allowing this kind of tactical sequence where black is up 2 pawns. Probably pawn takes is the better choice. It's possible that Lasker overlooked this skewer at the end of things that occurred right here. Now, after bishop c4, I actually haven't done any analysis on this, but knight h8 strikes me as a bad move. And Houdini agrees completely. It says rook f8 is a better defensive try. Knight h8, it's a little too passive, or knight on h8, you saw what happened to that knight. Whenever you find yourself playing a move like this, be careful. I would say do a double take and really make sure, because this move strikes me as just not a good move. However, black is still up 2 pawns. And now, the third interesting thing was that Lasker realizes black's getting close to consolidating when they go d5. And so he realizes there's no time to waste. He just lashes out with g6, hoping that that HG6, H5 will just be too scary. Even though objectively it's probably okay for black, from a practical standpoint, it's a bit scary. So he did this, and now the game just got really irrational, and white just kept pushing his initiative and pushing and pushing. And whatever Houdini says, trust me that this position is easier to play for white. Another interesting move that led to this capture, and just a lot of tough play, a lot of good play for white, sorry. So usually we're not going to look at the games in this much depth. It's just I didn't feel like I could sum it up in one little position. There's too much going on in this game. It was kind of a crazy game. But Lasker won it and took another 1-point lead in the match. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.